All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Yin. I'm Trish, and I'm going to start off this evening with a little bit of fascial rolling along the back. So grab your tennis balls, have all your props, your blocks, your bolster, your cushions all close by as well, so that once we're down, we don't have to sort of get up and cross the room to get anything. If you like, maybe even put on some of your favorite relaxing music in the background. And if you've got a blanket as well, as we start to get into the cooler months, feel free to have a blanket next to you that you can pull over you if you get cold. Okay, so getting all the things that you need, and I'm going to start off this evening with our two tennis balls. So the way that we're going to roll before we go down, I'm just going to demonstrate. So thinking about where your spine is, we are going to have the tennis balls symmetrically on either side of the spine, and we are going to be rolling them down on either side. And then when you get to your shoulder blades, you might want to bring them out a little bit wider out underneath the shoulder blades to clean in that area, and then coming back in, coming a little bit further down. I want to bring them out towards the kidneys. Sometimes that feels quite nice, and then lower down into the lower back, and then maybe up to the sides of the glutes. So that is going to be the rolling thing. So we will spend probably about 10-15 minutes rolling. So if there's certain points in your body that feel a little bit tighter and feel a little bit that you want to give them a little bit more attention, feel free to stay there, but we'll just try to cover that entire area in the next 15 minutes or so. All right, so come towards the bottom of your mat, so that as we roll up we're going to slide up the mat, so then that way there's not a lot of readjusting ourselves. So when you're right at the base of the mat, we're going to have our knees bent, have your block close to you so that you can easily access it. And then from here, just gently roll onto your back. And then maybe just lengthen the spine, maybe just hug the knees in and just gently rock from side to side a little bit. Circling the knees. One way, other way. And then just rolling up, nose to knees, just get one little stretch in there, and then lengthening shoulders, neck, and head back down. Bring the feet back to the ground. So we're going to grab our two tennis balls, and then we're going to pop them. So usually they'll feel quite nice when you bring them together, and we're going to pop them just at the tops of the shoulders on either side of the spine. So when you feel that spot, just make sure it's nice and symmetrical, that it's not actually on the bone. And then you can keep your hands by your hips, or maybe starting to take them up in line with the shoulders. And then just breathing into it. And then keeping your chin, your neck nice and long, and keeping your chin sort of rolled in towards your throat. If it feels good, you can just maybe gently turn the head from side to side. If you want a little bit more pressure, maybe start to push into your feet, and then squeeze the glutes, and then lift the hips up. And so this is going to bring a lot more pressure onto those tennis balls, which might feel good for some people. It might feel like it's a little bit too much. So if it's too much, keep the hips on the ground. If you have your hips lifted, this is where we grab our block. This is why I said to have your block within reaching distance. And then we can push your feet into the ground, squeeze your glutes, lift your hips, and then just slide your block underneath your hips. So bring it onto its middle end, because we're quite active here. So make sure it's not on your lower back, but it's just maybe on your sacrum underneath your bum. And then just breathing into it. Maybe some very slow, gentle sliding motions as we slide the hips up and down. Maybe feeling the balls starting to come a little bit lower down your back, and imagining that just trying to release those bands on either side of the spine, and maybe creating a little bit more length in between each link of your spine. As you start to release the tops of your shoulders from your hips, maybe you can take your arms a little bit further out to the sides or above the head. And just only doing what feels good. So it's just a suggestion. If by bringing your hands up, there's a lot of pulling through the chest or through the arms, and then keep the arms at a space where you feel like you're getting a nice opening, but without feeling like you're doing any pulling. All right. From here, keep your chin rolled in towards your throat. If your hips are on the ground, we just lift the hips a little bit. If your hips are up on a block, we just remove the block. And then just gently start to slide your hips up. So you're keeping the contact with the balls. So you should just be able to roll those balls down your back as you slide your hips up the mat. Now, sometimes the balls do tend, sometimes they might run away. So if they run away or they come out of alignment, you might just have to readjust them. And hopefully they're just still symmetrical on either side of the spine. And just breathing into it. Right now, in between the shoulder blades. Keeping the breath flowing. You might want to just gently hug the belly into the spine and maybe just swaying the knees from side to side, keeping the hips on the floor. It's getting a little bit of movement in there. And keep the feet on the ground. If you with the balls in between the shoulder blades, if you want a little bit more, you can start to roll your chin in towards the throat, grab your block, and on its lowest end, maybe just slide the block underneath your head. And so this might bring a little bit more pressure and weight onto the tennis balls when they're in between the shoulder blades. Otherwise, once again, just really listening to your body. If it feels like it's too much pressure, then don't use the additional prop. Deepening the breath. So if it feels like there's a tight area, try not to hold onto any tension. Just breathing into it, and you just gently roll in that space around it. Maybe some small fluid motions. Okay, if you have a block underneath your head, gently roll your chin and your head up, and then remove your block. And keep the head slightly lifted, and then we're going to roll the tailbone under, squeeze the glutes, lift the hips, and roll yourself a little bit further up your mat. And then coming to the bottom of the shoulder blades, and then just melting yourself back down. And keep deepening the breath. Once again, if you want a little bit more pressure here, you bring the head up, and then maybe pop the block underneath the head. Keep deepening the breath. And then we continue to sway the knees from side to side, get a little bit of movement in there. And getting to the bottom of your shoulder blades, and then from here you can, if you've got the balls in a really nice spot where you're getting a nice release, just stay where you are and enjoy it. Otherwise, if you feel like you've released a little bit, you can maybe just roll to one side and then to the other side, and slide the tennis balls a little bit wider out so you can get them underneath the shoulder blades. A bit wider out to the sides of your armpits. You can keep your knees bent. You can straighten the legs at any time if you feel like stretching out. And when you're ready, bend the knees back in, and then lift the hips. Bring the tennis balls back onto either side of your spine. And then roll yourself a little bit further up. Find the next spot. Once again, just make sure you're not on the bone. And then when they're a little bit lower down, so they're just below our ribs, if you want a little bit more pressure, you can maybe start to hug the knees in towards the chest. So just feel into it, because some spots might be a little bit tender, so it might be a little bit too much, but it might feel quite nice as well. So just tuning into your body. Just keeping the breath flowing. Just noticing flow of blood and energy in your body as we release. And then from here, bring the feet back down and roll yourself a little bit further up your mat. And then bringing the balls back. Deepening the breath. So once again, you can extend the legs out if you feel like you need to shake out the hips. Otherwise, keep the knees bent. Or otherwise, hug the knees back in and put a little bit more weight on those tennis balls. Maybe bring the balls a little bit wider out to the sides towards your kidneys if that feels good. And once again, just making sure that you're keeping the balls symmetrical. Deepening the breath. Just whatever variation is feeling good for you, just give a nice massage release. And then you can, if they're out to the sides of your kidneys, you can roll the balls back in, and then it's coming a little bit lower down towards the base of the spine. Creating that space as we roll onto the sides of the spine, space, a little bit more space in between each link. And then when you're down along right at the bottom, you can slide the balls a little bit wider out towards your glutes if that feels good. And then have your feet back on the ground. If it feels good, you might just want to sway the knees from one side to the other, or if you find a good spot, you might just want to hang out there and just do some gentle somatic movement to just release, just whatever feels good in your body this evening. Keeping the back of the neck nice and long, shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. Deep full yogic breaths, and just breathing into wherever there is tension. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's just gently remove the balls. Slide your legs out, just come into Shavasana for a minute. And you might want to do any kind of subtle movements first if you like to stretch out, and you might want to hug the knees in. Any kind of adjustments, and then when you're ready, just bringing the hands by the hips, thumbs and the hands facing up, back of the neck is long, and keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the two front teeth. Nice deep breaths here. Just checking in with your body. Any subtle changes, and breathing into them. Just allowing everything to assimilate. If you're ready, let's gently start to bring some movement back in, wiggling the fingers and toes, pointing and flexing the feet, circling the wrists and ankles. And maybe stretching out and hugging the knees in towards the chest. Roll the shoulders away from the ears, and then roll your nose up towards your knees. And just rock a little bit from side to side. Just get a nice little stretch here. And then lengthening shoulders, neck and head back down. And then from here, just either holding onto your knees, maybe binding the hands, interlacing the fingers over the knees. Inhale, breathing into the back. As you exhale, just widening through the hips and collarbones and just hugging the knees and thighs a little bit closer in. Keep widening out across the back, widening through your hips and collarbones. And then just if your tailbone is rolled under a little bit, roll your tailbone back towards the floor. One more breath here, just flattening out. And then roll the shoulders back down. Hug your belly in, move around your spine again, bringing your nose all the way back up towards the knees. Keep the shoulders sliding down the back. Keep pulling the belly towards the spine. And then lengthening shoulders, neck, and head back down. Widen the shoulders, collarbones, slide the shoulders away from the ears into their sockets, and then just rocking from side to side with a nice flat back. Be widening through the hip crease, and then let's circle our knees in one direction, back the other way, and let's circle them in opposite directions, and then back the other way. All right, from here, let's roll onto our side, and then just gently support yourself to come up. Let's come into butterfly. Let's do a couple more mobilizations before our next shape. So let's bring the soles of the feet together, heels relatively closely towards the groin. You can hold on to your feet or your ankles, and then just gently feather the knees up and down, breathing into the hips. And then let's lengthen up through the spine as we lengthen up. So keep lifting up through your pelvic floor, belly hugs in, and then lifting up through the back of your heart, squeezing the backs of your shoulder blades, and then lifting the heart and maybe extending the chin up towards the sky as you exhale, rolling back. So we're lifting the pelvic floor, rolling back onto your tailbone. Excuse me, rounding the spine and then rolling the chin in towards the throat as we lean our shoulders back. So feeling that nice articulation of the spine as we inhale, drawing the chest forwards and up. Exhale, rounding. So roll back. And one more here. All right. Back up. Let's do a little twisty here. So from here, just you can keep your hands on your shins or bring them onto your thighs. Maybe allow your feet to open up to the sides. Maybe squeeze your glutes and maybe wind the legs out a little bit. And then from here, just bring your hands onto whatever's comfortable, on your shins, on your knees, on your thighs. We're going to lengthen the heart, inhale, and as you exhale, hug the belly into the spine. We're going to push against that right knee or thigh as we look over the left shoulder. So we should feel that nice stretch across that right side of your back, across the ribs. Bring your chin towards your left shoulder, bringing your right shoulder towards your left knee. Breathing into that side of the back, feeling that nice opening up through that right hip as well, stretching out across, maybe even feeling that through the glutes. Keep the belly hugging into the spine as you twist from the ribs, maybe pushing that left hand into the thigh. Widening out across the shoulders at the back. And when you're ready, hug the belly in. Inhale back to center. And then exhale, slowly winding to the other side. Keeping the belly hugging in. And starting to feel that opening. Across the left side of your back, your ribs. Keep widening across your shoulders, widening out through extending out through your elbows so we're not crunching through our shoulders. Widening through the neck, and lengthening the neck and bringing your chin towards that right shoulder and reaching your left shoulder towards the other, towards the right knee. And feeling that winding out through that left hip. All right, hug the belly in. Inhale yourself back to center. Lengthen up through the spine. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Bring the feet back together. Let's do a couple more cat-cows here. So after we've done both sides, we'll just do a few more spinal rolls. As we inhale, just lengthening up, reaching the heart up, squeezing through the backs of your shoulder blades. Exhale, rounding back, feeling that articulation of your spine. Keep lifting up through the back of your heart as you inhale, you're reaching the elbows down. Rounding back. Okay, let's come back into neutral after your next breath. And then from here, we're just going to bring the legs out to the sides and come into a straddle position. Actually, before we do that, just grab your bolster and your blocks, have them close by. So grab your 2 blocks if you need, some cushions. Okay, so we're going to come into a straddle now. So from here, bringing your feet out towards the sides, start to lengthen your spine and then start to just feel the hip, feel the big thigh bone in its socket. So when you feel that thigh bone in its socket, we want to widen out through the hip crease and then really feel the attachment of that thigh bone in its socket as we start to squeeze the glutes, and you feel that you are externally rotating your thighs. So rather than just pushing our legs out and pulling the flesh away and maybe pulling in our joints, really start to widen that hip crease and feel like you're pulling the head of the thigh bone back in. As you squeeze your glutes, you should start to feel how the legs start to wind open. Okay, now we can draw a little bit of flesh away. Keep the pelvic floor lifted. The muscles used when you stop here, we're midstream. So I want to feel that we've still got that control of that big thigh bone in its socket. Bring your hands behind you and then keep the belly hugging in. Notice how the hips might want to roll in. So keep winding it outwards. Maybe feeling a nice little stretch through your inner thighs. Keep reaching your heart towards the sky. Just breathing in here. Squeezing through the backs of your shoulder blades. Lifting up through your ribs. All right, and when you're ready, lengthen your spine, come back into neutral. We're going to grab our bolster first, and you're going to pop your bolster right into your belly and really feel like it's really nice and supportive here. Okay, so you can wrap it in something, and then notice if your feet are rolling inwards, maybe just keep winding it outwards, maybe engaging the outer thigh. All right, and then so from here, bring your hands onto either side, lifting up through the ribs, and then start to reach your heart forwards. And grab your blocks, and then pop your blocks in a nice supportive position onto your bolster. And so really feel really nice and supported. Bring your bolster all the way in towards your belly, so you have that nice little ledge just to relax on. And so you just want to feel a nice opening. You'll feel that along your inner thighs, going through your back and through the legs. But we don't want to get to a point where anything feels like it's pulling or getting the shakes, but we're feeling quite a nice deep stretch. And I'm going to hang out here for a little while. So just let you breathe and soften into it. And just taking some nice stabilizing breaths wherever you're feeling the stretch. Just breathing into that space, and as you exhale, sending a message from the mind to the body to soften and release. Maybe coming into your Brahman breath if that feels right for you this evening. Perhaps nice deep breath into those tight areas. And as you exhale, just making a humming sound. And bringing that vibration of that sound deeper into your body. And then bringing that vibration around to all those tight areas. And just allowing that vibration of the hum to start to open and loosen up any tight particles, all those tight particles. As you inhale, just breathing into that space. And just flooding that area with fresh oxygen and energy with the in-breath. And so I've just got my head up so that you guys can hear me properly, but I encourage you just to bring your forehead down and just keep everything nice and relaxed. So the only reason I've got my head up is just so that my voice is clear and audible. And so just keep breathing into it and just feeling that bolster nice and supportive on your belly. Keep deepening the breath. Mm. 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 We're at our halfway point at this pose, so we're going to be hanging out here for another few minutes. So really try to find that space where you can allow yourself to melt that little bit deeper. And so if you're feeling tension, just really breathing into it, maybe using your humming of your Brahman breath, trying to soften and melt rather than fidgeting, and finding that space of stillness within yourself, observing breath, and utilizing that breath to help you to deepen and release a little bit further. And hugging your bolster if you can, just feeling that nice support of your bolster. Allowing yourself just to deepen, drop that a little bit deeper. Breathing, heavy, feeling that stretch, breathing into the back of the body, the inside of the legs. Get to a point if you feel like it's starting to pull or getting any pins and needles, just keep the big thigh bone in its socket. Maybe you can start to externally rotate the feet, the hips a little bit more. You can maybe just point and flex the feet and just keep winding it outwards, but making sure that you're feeling that the awareness of how your big thigh bone is still feeling and that control in the hip socket. Breathing into it. It's a long, melty one. All right, we're just going to take a few more nice, deep, beautiful breaths here. And when you're ready, very slowly starting to lift through your pelvic floor. Hug your belly into the spine, push into your hands. And then gently start to roll yourself back up one vertebra at a time. Lengthen up through your spine, roll your shoulders away from the ears. And then let's remove our bolster out of the way. And then roll a little bit back. See if once again we want to be able to suck those big thigh bones into their sockets, and then maybe bending your knees in, and then bring your feet and your knees inwards so you can bring your hands underneath. And then from here, just exhale up the knees to one side, inhale to center, exhale to the other side. It's a very gentle mobilizing twist, maybe feeling a little massage through the glutes. And then extend the legs out, give them a little shake out in the hip sockets and screen wipers with the feet. Okay, I'm going to give our legs a little, they'll be nice and open for our next few poses, but we're going to come back towards the upper body now. We're just going to spend a little bit of time rolling now. We're going to start to roll along our lats and along the triceps. So this is an area that we don't tend to roll that much, so sometimes can be a little bit tight. So from here, we're going to come onto our side. Actually, we'll do the lats as well first. So actually grab your block first and have your tennis ball close by. So now you're going to pop, so you're going to come up onto your elbow. So our elbow is supporting our head. And then you're going to bring the edge of the block kind of into your armpit. And then from here, you just allow your ribs to kind of melt down. We're not going to stay here too long. Make sure your shoulder's not crunching around your ear, but you should maybe start to feel that stretch through your lats here. And then as you gently maybe support yourself with your front hand, you can just very slowly rock yourself forwards and back. And try to breathe into it, so there's a few meridians as well. And that cross that point, your lymph nodes as well underneath the armpit. So it can be a little bit tender at times. If it is, just take it easy. And just keep the breath flowing. Find a tight point, try not to hold on to it, and just maybe just gently using some gentle motion, motion to release. Keep deepening the breath. Nice deep breaths here. Melting, so we just want to allow the ribs to melt down. Wiping it through the bottom shoulder. Okay, when you're ready, you're going to release that hand and then push down into your hands to support yourself to come back up. Release the block. And then just slide that hand all the way out now. So you're lying on your side. Now I'm going to grab the tennis ball. And then you can just come back up a little bit and then bring that ball just underneath your tricep here. So you can keep your head supported. If you have your head there, it's going to add a little bit more pressure and weight. Otherwise, you can just bring that your head to relax on it. It's a little more relaxing, and then finding, just relax your head and then just finding those points. Just breathing into it. And the next one. Keeping that breath nice and deep and flowing. So use your front hands to control. Feel it's such a release all the way out through the meridians as we open the energy flow through that left arm. You can maybe start to feel it opening up to your arm, your hand, and your fingertips. Deepening the breath. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to just push into our top hand. And then from here, just roll onto your belly. Come into a seat for a moment. And so we're going to have our 10 toenails on the ground, lengthening up through the spine, keeping the tailbone rolling under, reaching the heart forwards, giving a squeeze through the kidneys. And then maybe swaying the hips from side to side. Okay, so now we are going to stretch out for that little bit of rolling that we just did. We're going to take that left hand, and then from here, you're going to take it up. You're going to slide it through. So just underneath your armpit, your palm is facing down. Keep your spine long, and then we are winding that arm downwards towards the thumb and index finger from your shoulder. So that hand is at your shoulder height, or actually at armpit height. And then from here, your other hand is going to walk out towards, so your left hand is on, your left hand is on the bottom, right hand is on the top, and you're walking your hands out away from you at shoulder height. Both palms are facing down, and you're winding the hands down towards the thumb and index finger. And then from here, you're just going to bring your chin onto your upper arm of your right side, and then just relax down. So right now we're feeling this opening and stretch across the back of your shoulder blades. You're feeling this squeezing through your front of the body, through the chest, the lung points and kidney points. And you're feeling this squeezing and winding down through that left arm and all the meridians that we have just been stretching and rolling. And you feel that stretching through the lats as well that we use the block for on the left side. I'm going to hang out here for another couple of minutes. So just breathing into it. And as you exhale, just let everything be heavy and melting down. Keeping the breath. As you start to release, you can maybe start to slide the hands a little bit further away from each other, away from the midline of the body. Okay, when you're ready, roll the tailbone under, belly hugs in, lengthen your spine back up, and then unbind your hands. Come back into Sphinx for a moment. Widen through your shoulder blades, collarbones, roll the shoulders back into the sockets. Through the spine, and then roll your, maybe drawing the chin towards the throat, and then maybe just rolling the head from one side to the other. There's a little free form movement. Yeah. And from here, we're going to bring that arm out to the side in a cactus. So that left arm, we're just sliding it out to the side. So stay on your belly, but all you're doing is you're sliding that arm out like a cactus arm here. Okay, that same side that we've been doing. Okay, and then from here, we're just going to bring your right hand by your face. So just check that the elbow is at your shoulder and your wrist that you have that 90-degree angle, like so. Okay, then we're going to come onto the side of the head, slide your hips across a little bit, and then from here you can just gently start to roll that top shoulder back. Because we have that cactus arm, now we're just getting a little release through the chest, and we're breathing into that kidney point. Keep widening out across that shoulder, that left shoulder, extending out through your elbow. Just breathing into the chest, so don't push too hard. Deepening the breath. Gliding out through the collarbones of that left side. Ready. Release your top foot and then roll yourself back onto your belly. Slide back up into Sphinx. Nice little stretcher here. Shoulders back down away from the ears. Maybe reaching the elbows towards the hips. And then when you're ready, let's do the second side. So if you like, you can just come back into child's pose and stretch out. And then you can change sides, or you can do the same thing on the other side if you know what they're doing anyway. So do any kind of release motions, and then we're going to move to the second side. So grab your block, grab your tennis ball. All right, so from here we come down. It's like we are just resting on our side, and then we're going to slide this block just underneath the butts and the armpit, where the edge of the block is in the armpit. Bend your elbow, support your head, make sure your neck is long, and just melting down onto the edge of the block. And then making sure there is space as well as we allow the ribs to melt down. And then finding your way here, over here just for 2 minutes. And so if you feels right for you, maybe melting into it, maybe otherwise you might want to just gently rock a little bit. Deepening the breath. Just feel into your body, whatever feels right for you this evening. Deepening the breath. Just noticing might feel sometimes one side might be different compared to the other side as well. The other side I felt like I needed to do quite a lot of movement to release, whereas here I just feel like, oh, it feels quite nice just melting into it. Just listening to wherever your body is at this evening. When you're ready, let's bring the hands down, push into the hands, support yourself to come up a little bit, remove the block. Now we grab our tennis ball. We just stretch it out first and then stretch it out a little bit. And then come back up. And then from here, grab your tennis ball, pop that underneath. And so we can kind of feel like this. It's going to be a little bit more intense because your it's then a little bit more active. Otherwise, just relax it down. Find the points that feel good. And then just starting to melt down. And once again, find the option that feels right for your body this evening. Maybe some gentle rocking, or maybe just finding a spot that feels quite nice and melting down into it. For your comfort, if you like, you can always pop a block in between your knees if you feel that it's more comfortable for your hips. Otherwise, if you're feeling quite comfortable, it's fine. I just felt that on this side, my knees felt like they were knocking together. So, but if you're feeling comfortable, you don't need to do that. Arm can be facing up or down, whatever feels good for you. It's really starting to feel that release through the arm and just starting to feel the energy coming all the way down into your hand fingertips as well. Okay, when you're ready, if you've got a block between your knees, remove the block and then roll onto your belly. Lengthen your spine up, keep the tailbone rolling under, coming into your Sphinx pose again. Reaching the heart forwards, and then from here we're going to take that right hand, you're going to slide it out underneath your armpit, palm is facing down, and then from here lengthen your spine, walk your fingers away from you, both palms facing down. We're winding the hands downwards towards, so palms are facing down if you can, yep, and we're feeling that winding motion, which is going to give us that stretch throughout that area that we've just been rolling. Okay, so option one, you can bend your forearm and just rest your forehead onto that forearm. Option two is you take both arms and you walk them both back out. And then up through the spine, to the throat, roll your chin towards your throat, and then melting down. Start to release, and you can start to slide the hands a little bit further away from you. Soften through the chest. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to start to roll the tailbone under, belly hugs into the spine. Lengthening up through the spine, reach the heart forwards, unbinding the hands. And back into Sphinx, and count of 3-4 movements in Sphinx pose. Drawing the shoulders back, reaching the elbows back towards the hips. Just getting a little counter stretch here. You're ready. You're going to slide that right elbow out at shoulder height into your cactus arm. Bring your other elbow next to your face. So you can check in and just make sure that your elbow is in line with your shoulder and your wrist and fingers are in line with your elbow. Okay, from here we just slide the hips a little bit forwards, walk the elbow away, and then you can start to roll that top shoulder back a little bit. I'm just feeling that nice counter stretch, that opening up through the chest on the right side. And just breathing into that. Deepening the breath. Shoulders wide. And then when you're ready, have the belly into the spine, rolling yourself back onto your belly, lengthening up. Coming back into Sphinx just for a moment, reaching out, the heart, drawing those elbows back towards the hips. All right, when you're ready, let's come back into child's pose, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, rolling yourself back. Just getting a nice little stretch out across the back here. Grounding back into the hips. Maybe just gently swaying your hips from side to side. And then when you're ready, roll yourself back up through your spine. Lengthen up through the crown and bring your shoulders back down away from the ears. Okay, so our chest, our hips, everything should be quite nice and open now. So from our original straddle, we're going to come into a half straddle. And we're going to bring our left leg out, bend your right knee, and then, that's right. And bring your heel in towards the groin. Okay, from here, lengthen up and roll the shoulders away from the ears. You're going to start to bring your left hand onto your inner thigh, and then from here, just start to bring your other hand behind and maybe just opening up here. So we're just opening the chest, and then take your right hand, reaching it back. And then reach it a little bit higher up to start to feel that opening up through your ribs. And then lifting up through your obliques on the underside. So on the left side, keep lifting those side abdominals. And then from here, see if you can bend your left elbow and bring your head to rest in your left side. Okay, now we're going to bend that top elbow. Maybe rest that elbow a bit above, behind the head. So you're making a little cup with your bottom hand. And make sure that you, when you're resting your elbow on your knee or your thigh, that it's, so that bottom hand, so we want to try to reach, bring that down. And then this bottom side, just keep it active as well, so you're not collapsing into that bottom side. Or Sheila, just you can bring your hand down. So and then from here, you just take the other hand up, bend the elbow, and then you just rest it behind the head. Maybe hold on with your fingertips to the back of your head. So if you're using your bottom hand to support and push away from the ground, if you can't get your elbow like down to rest your head on your elbow comfortably, keep the hand there and your top hand's holding your head up. And just breathing into that right side of the body. Otherwise, you're just using that bottom hand, cupping your hand with your head with your fingertips. And we're just breathing into that right side from the hip, side waist. Opening up through the chest. Maybe reach that top elbow further back behind you. Keep lifting up through that left side of your body. You're imagining that your lungs like bellows as we inhale, we expand the top. As we exhale, we deflate the bottom. And so if you are on your hand, you can maybe slide. So if you're on the hand, maybe you can come a little bit lower down towards the elbow. If you're on your fingertips, maybe you can melt the head into the palm a little bit more. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to take your right hand, hold onto the head, push your other hand into the mat, and then we're lengthening slowly back up, and then releasing the head. Lengthen the spine, inhale as we exhale, twisting towards your right. Bring your right hand behind, left hand to the outside of the knee or thigh. Coming into a nice opening twist. Pulling your hand against your knee or thigh to deepen, and return your head to look over your right shoulder. Keeping the spine long. And let's inhale, come back to center. All right, from here, let's come into the wild thing. Bring your hand in line. We're just going to stretch out. So we're going to bring your right hand down in line with your front foot. Push into your shin and lift your hips. Just stretch it out here. And then exhale, bring yourself back down. Okay, let's bring that hip back into the socket, squaring the hips. And then from here, you can either bend that knee and melt your belly onto the thigh, or maybe bring your bolster. That was a nice supported option. So you can just bring the bolster into your belly again, and then have a little bend in the knee if you like. And so you can either have that. So option one is just to keep it like that, and then you can just bring your block and you can just come into a one-legged forward fold, or you can straighten your other leg, and then from here you can just bring your bolster a little bit in, and then just come into a little forward fold on both sides or one side. We'll do the same on the other side as well. Okay, so feel what option feels best for you. Sometimes having a bolster against your belly might feel a little bit more supportive, and then if you have a bolster there, you might want to extend the other leg out. Okay, for myself tonight, I'm feeling that I kind of want to just stretch the back of my hamstring a little bit more. So you can pop a block or something underneath your head, and then just find a position that you are feeling something like a nice stretch in your body. So the hips are square for this one. I'm just breathing into the back of that left leg, widening out through the hip. When you're ready, we're going to roll up. We're just going to do the other side before we come back into a longer straight leg forward fold. Okay, from here, bring your both legs out, shake the legs out in the hip sockets, bend the knees, draw the belly in, and then just gently draw the knees from one side to the other. And then from here, we extend the other leg out. And then lengthen the spine, roll your shoulders away from the ears. So start with your right hand on your inner thigh. And then you really want to start to lift up and then take the other hand back. So it's like we're opening the chest here. So it's like you're stretching out. Opening it back. So feeling those ribs opening here. Take that hand a little bit higher up. As you take that hand higher up, maybe you can slide the other shoulder down and slide the other hand further up. So like we're making like a T almost. And then from here, if you can, if your elbow is on your knee now or on your thigh, suck your knee into your thigh, make sure you're not on the knee joint. And then maybe you can reach and have a little cup here. Right, make sure you're not sort of collapsing forwards. So make sure you're not collapsing forwards, but we're really opening through the chest. So if that's not accessible, you're just pushing that hand back in and then you just keep reaching, opening. So it's like we're lengthening the spine as you inhale. As you exhale, you're twisting and opening it back. And then from here, so option one is keep that bottom hand there. You bend that top elbow, and then maybe you just hold the back of your head. So you still feel, and you're lifting that top elbow towards the sky. Okay, so you should feel a really nice stretch through that left side of the body, and you're feeling that stretch through the tricep. Otherwise, if it's accessible, you can just bend the other elbow, and then it's even more relaxing sometimes, and we can cup the head in the elbow. So think about opening upwards. So otherwise, you can reach that other hand to the sky and look like this. Okay, so just find what variation feels good for you. Breathing into that left side of the body. Sliding your bottom ribs forwards as you keep opening those top ribs back. Reaching that top elbow to the sky and feeling that nice opening. So your hip, your sideways. The ribs, through the chest. All right, from here, release the bottom hand, bring your top hand a little bit just to cup your head, and then inhale yourself back up, lengthen up, roll the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, take the hands, exhale, come into your twist, twisting towards the left. Lengthening through the spine from the base of the crown as you inhale, exhale, hug the belly in. And then pulling against your knee or your thigh. As you twist further up, then bring that twist all the way to your neck, intending the head to look over the left shoulder. Keep the belly hanging in. Inhale, come back to center. The arms up, inhale, exhale, bring your hand behind you, and then we're going to come into our wild thing, stretch it out for a moment. Exhale, come back down. And then squaring the hips. Find your option here. So if you did straight leg on both straight legs on the other side, then you do both straight legs on this side as well. Okay, and then we're going to come, if you did a one-legged one, we'll just come down in our whatever variation, grab your props if you need. And then just mounting down. You can soften. Now, if you have both legs straight, stay where you're at. If you have one knee bent, you're going to roll yourself back up and then lengthen up. You're going to straighten the other leg. And then from here, we're just squaring the hips. Find your option once again. So if you want, you can grab your bolster, pop that bolster by your belly. So we have both legs straight now. And we're just coming into a double-legged forward fold. Okay, so blocks if you need. And if you want that bolster option to have that support on your belly, and then you can pop your block on top of your bolster so you can rest your forehead as well. So stack everything in a nice position, in a nice comfortable way. And coming into a final pose for 3 minutes. Deepen breath into the air and soften. Okay, when you're ready, let's roll ourselves up through the spine. Lengthen through your crown, relax your shoulders, remove your props. And then from here, just gently roll yourself back onto your back, lengthening up through the spine. Make any kind of adjustments and just gently come into a gentle twist, tugging the belly into the spine and just drawing the knees from one side to the other. And then little arch, you'll be stretching out. And then when you're ready, roll your tailbone under, bring your feet out wide to the edges of your mat. Bring your hands by your hips, turning the palms of the hands facing up, back of the neck is long, rolling the chin towards the throat. And tip of the tongue on the roof and mouth behind the two front teeth. Softening down. Deepen the breath. Moving all the way down into your hips, into your belly. Belly, from the lungs, bottom, middle, top. Sides, back of the lungs, breathing into the heart center. Breathing into the neck and throat. And as you exhale, just let everything soft and heavy. And sinking down to the earth and just being held and supported by the earth beneath you. Everything soften. Deepening the breath and just observing the energy and the breath within you. Some subtle changes and just allowing the breath and energy to flow to wherever it needs to. Giving yourself a chance to rest, restore, rejuvenate, and integrate. So if you're watching this as a video replay, I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for at least another 5 minutes. I'm going to slowly come up and say goodbye, but I'll get you guys just to stay and remain in Shavasana. Namaste. Thank you.